10's Late News with Jessica Rowe.
Tonight, forest anger ignited. Greenies blame Wilson Tucky for the loggers' fury. The bikie wars, 2 found guilty of murder after a nightclub shootout. And heads up, will the Queen lose her place on our coins? Good evening. First tonight, Turkish authorities are scaling down their search for earthquake survivors. They're turning to the task of recovering bodies and moving debris. The devastation so bad, whole towns could be abandoned.
Adnan Menderes, one street in Adabazari, destroyed as completely as if bombed in wartime. Amidst the rubble, some residents remain. But here at least there is little room for the specialist rescue teams. Today, large bulldozers were churning the ruins, whilst local men watched for bodies. Some were found, but many more remain. Many other damaged sections of the city are to be bulldozed, flattened, and then sprayed with disinfectant. For tonight, there are growing fears of typhoid and cholera. Residents like Tulin were today scavenging for possessions. She lost her mother in the earthquake, and now she's preparing to leave a street that soon will not exist. The Oxus family, leaving tonight, are convinced there is no future. Adabazari is finished, he said. Everyone's going, we're going to go. From behind their curtained limousines, ministers viewed the town today. They remain wary of meeting the people directly. What is extraordinary on day 5 is how little Turkey's large armed forces have been used, either in the rescue attempt or in searching the rubble. It has led to mounting criticism, such as a headline in one of today's papers. It wasn't so much the buildings that fell apart, it was the system.
And Australia's lifted its official earthquake aid by $500,000 to be spent on tents, water tanks and mobile toilets. To make a personal contribution, call the Red Cross Fund on 1800 811 700. 4 people have been killed in a head-on crash on the Bruce Highway near Townsville. 3 of the victims, a man, a woman and a boy, were in a station wagon with New South Wales registration. The other person killed, a man, was travelling in a sedan with Queensland plates. 2 other people from the sedan have been flown to Townsville Hospital, one in a serious condition. 2 men have been found guilty of murdering 3 bikies at a Sydney nightclub. They'll be sentenced in about 6 weeks.
It's the verdict the families of 3 slain bikies wanted.
An execution, cold-blooded murder.
Richter Stoop, Sasha Milenkovic and Bandito bikie chief Michael Kulikowski died in November 1997, the targets of a bloody shootout at Sydney's Black Market nightclub. Today, with court security tight, a jury out since Thursday found Bruce Harrison and Constantine Giorgio killers, guilty of murdering the 3 rival banditos and the attempted killing of a 4th.
We lost son, but we get justice.
Only now, say the families, can they begin to grieve.
Justice may have been done, yes, but it doesn't make it any easier.
To watch your brother take his last breath in hospital, you can't even have words for the pain that you live with every day.
It'll be at least another 6 weeks before the convicted men will know exactly how long they'll spend in jail, while the families of the murder victims say they'll settle for nothing less than life behind bars.
We're the ones living a life sentence, so a life sentence is exactly what we're hoping for.
Darren Roberts, 10 News.
More violence in the battle over Western Australia's forests. A conservation shop firebombed just hours after a Greens camp was attacked. Federal Forestry Minister Wilson Tucky is being blamed for inciting the rampage.
Their forest camp destroyed, anti-loggers today told police of their harrowing ordeal. They claim about 40 timber workers stormed the wattle block site yesterday morning. Conservationist Emma Belfield was among the 10 set upon. She recorded the attack.
About 5 of them had balaclavas. Most were wielding sledgehammers, baseball bats, crowbars.
Stop, we don't want to talk to you anymore. You stop there, we're going to get talking you.
People were threatened that if they came back into the forest, the only way that they'd be leaving is in an ambulance.
Hours later, and the forest protesters' southwest headquarters was firebombed.
Suddenly I heard this explosion. All the windows shook and the doors shook.
Conservationists today accused Federal Forestry Minister Wilson Tucky of inciting the violence, but he in turn blamed WA Premier Richard Court.
If he is unable to deliver the timber resource, to people he's given a contract to say he'll supply it, he is not in control of the state.
Logging supporters claim they're fed up with police failing to move protesters out of their work sites. WA Police today came under heavy fire with word they were warned about the attack a day before it happened, yet sent no officers to the scene.
We simply can't put people in every place down through the camps there.
Alison Blanksby, 10 News.
The second Lotto machine failure in a week has punters shaking their heads. A $15 million super draw had to finish off camera after one ball became stuck.
Tattersalls' $15 million draw, broadcast in every state except New South Wales, last night started without drama. The first 4 balls selected as normal.
It looks like we've got a number there. We'll have to stop the... It's not a number, right?
That ball, number 41, was declared invalid because it hadn't reached the final draw position. Anxious punters had to wait, while the remaining numbers were drawn on a backup machine and aired later. A similar story on Tuesday. A $1 million Oz Lotto draw also had to be stopped and some numbers redrawn after the machine went into overdrive.
That's right, we're getting our balls down a bit quicker than usual.
I don't know what the odds are, but it's absolutely astounding that you could have 2 machine malfunctions in the space of the week.
The machines are regularly serviced and tested before each draw.
People enter a lottery on the basis it's the luck of the draw, and as a result of what's occurred on Tuesday and last night, the use of the machines has become the luck of the draw also.
Tim Mitchell, 10 News.
The federal government has strongly denied claims that the Queen will be replaced on our coins. Don Bradman's being touted as the man to take her place.
The Queen has graced Australia's currency for decades, but now there's speculation if we become a republic, it'll be a case of off with her head. The royal profile could be replaced by that of Sir Donald Bradman or a past Prime Minister. Monarchists are accusing the Republican movement of distracting the public ahead of November's referendum.
They are attempting to brainwash the Australian people into voting yes without understanding the complex constitutional change.
The government says the Queen's image on our coins and the Republican debate are 2 separate issues. There is a review of our currency requirements before the millennium, but there's no reason why the Queen can't stay.
Even if Australia does become a republic, we would need to have good reasons to remove the Queen from our coinage.
Once again, the public's divided.
If we're going for a republic, let's go.
I think we should keep our heritage and keep the Queen still on it.
If we were changing the coin, we don't pick a great scientist like Howard Florey. I think he's probably the greatest Australian that's ever lived.
Sean Pewings, 10 News.
And ahead in 10's late news, Texas battens down as Hurricane Brett heads its way. And French farmers vent their anger over tariffs targeting McDonald's.
I have now some good news for you.
The good news is we've moved to an all-new time.
I have never been happier.
9:30 Monday. The heavyweights of humour line up for an all-star debate.
It must be sex.
I think not.
Robbins, McDermott,
I'm trapped in a bubble.
Kitson, Keller and Morgan.
What had been troubling me was, of course, mental.
At the all-new time of 9:30 Monday.
It's fun being in the middle.
Good News Week, a war of the words on 10.
Whether a tickle or a burn, a sore throat can really get you down. That's why people trust Strepsils to get them up and shouting again.
Mouth to mouth. She's perfect. Cheek to cheek. She wants me.
He likes to be touched. He.
Baby, you're my loving. She's mine.
He's mine.
Sexuality.
Emporio Armani, the 2 new fragrances.
Get together.
If you'd like to follow in the footsteps of Australia's most successful graduates, your first step is to choose the right university. The University of Queensland, Australia's University of the Year.
Every child deserves the opportunity to be the best they can be. For almost 10 years at the St George Foundation, we've helped thousands of Aussie kids do just that. Children with special needs, gifted, and those who are not so well off. Music can make a difference too, and you can help by purchasing Welcome, the song. All proceeds go to the St George Foundation. It's available at record stores and St George branches.
The only thing that's important to me is that my shave gel leaves my face looking smooth and feeling great. And my deodorant smells fresh, clean and masculine. They have to be 100% effective. I mean, they've really got to work their pants off.
Da Vinci Sport 2000. Men's toiletries that really work their pants off. Da Vinci, perfect for Father's Day at these leading stores.
Now with Vodafone, you can call another Vodafone mobile and talk for under 5 cents a minute off peak. Across Australia. New 1-second call plans.
Network Vodafone. Oh, yeah.
Angry French farmers are continuing their protests against North American import duties. Today they were back outside McDonald's restaurants, demanding the release of a farm union leader. He was arrested a week ago for ransacking a McDonald's building site. America imposed the duty on food imports after Europe refused to lift its ban on US beef. The first Atlantic hurricane of the season is in the Gulf of Mexico, heading towards southern Texas. Hardware stores are doing a brisk trade in emergency supplies as Hurricane Brett reaches the dangerous Category 4 level. Brett could reach land as early as tomorrow night our time. And if he's scaled down or changes course, a second Hurricane Cindy is following not far behind. Claims tonight the NATO peacekeeping force in Kosovo is under strength. Some British politicians expressing concern their soldiers are carrying too great a burden.
An Albanian family returning into what until a week ago was a no-go area in the divided city of Mitrovica. French KFOR troops and police have at last begun the task of escorting Albanians back to their homes in the Serb sector, which NATO says is yet another sign of the improving situation in Kosovo. But because of a shortfall in Allied peacekeeping forces, it's British troops who are having to take much of the strain of coping with ethnic cleansing. And the Conservatives say the burden is too great.
The Secretary of State promised us before the summer break that the number of troops would be pretty near up to scratch by the summer. And he also promised us that the police forces were being accelerated into post. And we've seen both of those fall well short of what we were told, which means that the troops out there are having to double up to make certain that they can hold the line, and they're frankly finding it very difficult.
British soldiers have complained to Tory MPs of overstretch, too many tours of duty, not enough time with their families, and now the danger that they could get bogged down in a long-running peacekeeping role like that in Northern Ireland. John Speller, the Armed Forces Minister, who was in Kosovo last Monday and Tuesday, says that although it was tough and touch and go for British troops some weeks ago, conditions in Kosovo are getting better all the time. KFOR says the streets are getting safer, intimidation is less than it was, and Allied forces are apprehending Albanians said to have been responsible for ethnic cleansing against the Serbs.
As we said in our first story, disease is the growing menace as Turkey cleans up after the quake. Doctors now concerned they haven't the medicine to combat a major outbreak.
It's the sheer scale of the disaster that overwhelms, threatening to unleash also a new phase of danger, if the problems of public hygiene are not urgently answered. Without running water and sanitation, the city hospital has had to move outdoors. Neither medical supplies nor food are an immediate problem. But when that point was made by one doctor, it generates an argument with a volunteer colleague who's come from Istanbul.
Not enough medical support for 2 weeks later. We cannot enough money support from the Western country, including European countries.
In a fully equipped Israeli field hospital set up next door, they say the community's regular medical needs can be fully answered. But a new concern is unfolding. Only on Saturday there have been several new cases of suspected dysentery among children brought in, and the fear is it could be the sign of things to come. Running water and much more portable toilets are the urgent need to ward off the possibility of epidemic. And that also means giving top priority, not merely to getting the living out of the rubble, but also to burying the dead as quickly as possible, and with as much decorum as possible, as there's no let-up in the conveyor belt of funerals.
A tearful homecoming for an Australian man who's been held in detention in China. 50-year-old university researcher Gabriel Lafitte was greeted by his wife Helen and members of the Tibetan community. He was arrested a week ago by Chinese authorities. They claimed he'd entered a restricted area of Tibet while investigating a World Bank project. Mr. Lafitte says he was tormented by a Chinese interrogator into signing a bogus confession.
Utter cruelty. Calculated, careful, utterly thought out chess master.
Mr. Lafitte says he holds grave fears for his American and Tibetan colleagues still in captivity. And coming up in 10's late news, Canberra moves to control Frankenstein food. And 50 firefighters to tackle a timber yard blaze in Victoria.
.30 Monday on 10. Guinness World Records prime time.
The only thing that's important to me is that my shave gel leaves my face looking smooth and feeling great. And my deodorant smells fresh, clean and masculine. They have to be 100% effective. I mean, they've really got to work their pants off.
Da Vinci Sport 2000. Men's toiletries that really work their pants off. Da Vinci, perfect for Father's Day at these leading stores.
I love this house. It reminds me of what Wales was like. It's got a country feel about it. If I hear Welsh choirs, it's, yeah, it takes me home. I separated and moved out of the home. And the house went on the market because I didn't think that I could buy a house, certainly not on a single income.
We had a look at her income. We could definitely give her the loan, which meant that her and her kids could move back into the home.
I'm relaxed about the loan, relaxed about where I'm going, and life's looking pretty good.
Looking for a home loan that can go through the same changes as you? Make it happen with the bank.
Lennox and Dave Stewart are Eurythmics, one of the great pop acts who dominated the 80s with hit after hit. Now Eurythmics are back. Don't miss the Eurythmics on their Peace Tour. Eurythmics, presented by Michael Koppel and Classic Hits 4KQ. Tickets on sale from Monday, August 23.
Now with Vodafone, you can call another Vodafone mobile and talk for under 5 cents a minute off peak. Across Australia. New 1-second call plans.
Network Vodafone. Oh, yeah.
A reporter barely alive.
You ever get any calls, any threatening letters?
His story jailed a mobster.
They convicted because of what Fox printed in his column?
Unfortunately, it was a lie.
Now that's a story.
Law and Order, 8:30 Monday on 10.
5 separate blazes have caused almost $250,000 damage in Perth. 2 schools were among properties burnt. Arson is suspected.
Devastation for the owners of this duplex, gutted by fire just after midnight. Fire and rescue arriving in time to stop the blaze from spreading to adjoining units. The damage bill put at $100,000. It's not known how the blaze began. A classroom at the St Luke's Primary School was also gutted overnight. The fire, also causing $100,000 damage, is thought to have been deliberately lit. Another school believed to be targeted by arsonists overnight, John Wollaston High School, sustaining $7,000 damage. 2 homes were also severely burnt, this house sustaining $50,000 damage, but while unoccupied, arson is not suspected. And fire and rescue were called to this house at 5 this morning, an occupant taken to hospital suffering smoke inhalation. The fire began in the kitchen, causing $60,000 damage. Despite the spate of fires overnight, fire and rescue claim they're not linked. Mignon Henny, 10 News.
And fire has ripped through a timber store in Victoria, causing $300,000 damage. The blaze broke out at Rosebud, south of Melbourne last night, taking 50 firefighters to bring under control. 1 firefighter had to be treated for smoke inhalation. Australia's stepping up protection against so-called Frankenstein foods. All genetically modified products will now have to be approved by the government.
It was a calamity for the British beef industry, mad cow disease linked to genetically modified feed. Now our government is intensifying efforts to prevent anything like it happening here.
In Australia, public health and safety comes first, and I hope we're able to win the confidence of the public with that attitude.
Within 18 months, we'll have a new gene technology watchdog. Before that, regulation for all businesses who want to put gene-altered products on the market.
From tomorrow, they will actually require my approval before anything's released onto the market.
Gene technology is used to enhance crops and improve food and pharmaceuticals. It's now in the most common groceries, from margarine to Mars bars. But with Frankenstein food concerns over the long-term safety of some products, other health ministers still have concerns.
All states and territories do have methods of checking food and policing, but to actually police small amounts of genetically modified food in, say, Mars bars will be very difficult.
Just last month, health ministers agreed on compulsory labelling of modified foods. The new regulations mean Australian consumers will be protected by one of the world's most stringent gene technology regimes.
I don't mean to stand in the way of it happening, but I am going to make absolutely certain that the public's safe.
Gavin Morris, 10 News.
Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett faced unexpected disruption while showing off a major hospital development. A group of protesters wanted to discuss AIDS funding instead.
Unit now. No more delays. Air unit now.
AIDS community groups lay in wait for Premier Jeff Kennett before the official opening of the Alfred Hospital's $9 million emergency department and trauma centre. While the ceremony started inside, the protesters tried to make their voices heard. Ignoring the protests, a limping Premier Kennett explained how he thought he might be the new unit's first patient.
I went for my walk with my dog this morning and pulled a hammy. I thought I was going to be able to utilise the services there for a while.
The centre is one of Australia's largest and replaces 30-year-old facilities with the latest in medical technology. The Alfred now boasts the most sophisticated emergency department in Australia, treating almost 40,000 patients a year, yet having the lowest preventable death rates. After his tour, the Premier had to rely on security to make his way through the protesters. Brett McLeod, 10 News.
New promises for workers. Their entitlements will be guaranteed even if their employers go broke. Oakdale miners were last week compensated for money owed to them by their boss, but as many as 21,000 people sacked each year go unpaid. Now the government is planning a national workers' insurance scheme.
It doesn't mean that you get every last dollar that's owing to you, but it does mean, though, that you get something and at least you've got some protection against, these situations.
But the unions claim it's playing politics because the scheme's part of industrial reform legislation.
It shouldn't be frustrated by mixing it up with all of the other really pernicious elements of his second wave of industrial legislation.
And I'll be back in a moment with the National Weather Report. Then it's Sports Tonight with Matthew White from the Winter Extreme Games at Perisher Blue.
And headlining tonight, Jessica, a world record at the Pan Pacs as Ian Thorpe smashes one of the best marks in swimming. Plus, plenty of footy and extreme pain here at the Extreme Games. All the day's action coming up next on Sports Tonight. We're live from Perisher Blue.
At the all-new time of 9:30 Monday.
It's fun being in the middle.
Robbins, McDermott,
I'm trapped in a bubble.
and the heavyweights of humour in a Good News Week debate. A war of the words. 9:30 Monday on 10.
This is Natasha, chosen as the Dine food critic because of her highly developed sense of smell and impeccable taste. Before she approves any Dine recipe, she ensures that the ingredients are only of the highest quality, making all of Dine's extensive selection simply irresistible. Yes, there is no finer way to dine.
Every child deserves the opportunity to be the best they can be. For almost 10 years at the St George Foundation, we've helped thousands of Aussie kids do just that. Children with special needs, gifted, and those who are not so well off. Music can make a difference too, and you can help by purchasing Welcome, the song. All proceeds go to the St George Foundation. It's available at record stores and St George branches.
The Paris-Dakar Rally, 7,000 kilometres across the scorching deserts of North Africa. In a race that most don't even finish, the mighty Pajero has dominated. Its nearest rival, the mid-sized Mitsubishi Challenger. Now Mitsubishi has developed the Pajero EO, all the toughness and durability you'd expect, but in a more compact form. Mitsubishi, the toughest four-wheel drives from here to Timbuktu. It is Mitsubishi.
Dine food critic Natasha appraises Dine's new duck and turkey recipe to ensure that, as with all of Dine's extensive selection, it's made with only the finest ingredients. Yes, there is no finer way to dine.
Tuesday.
Do you want to see something incredible?
A stranger appears with a gift like theirs, but will she become a powerful ally or a danger to them all?
You must make them want you as badly as you want them.
Charmed, 9:30 Tuesday on 10.
Time now for a look at the weather, and cloud activity is centred mainly over the east coast with some lighter cover in southern parts. A high continues to dominate the continent with a low and its associated cold front moving in from the southwest. Looking ahead for tomorrow, cloudy with more showers for Cairns. Townsville and Brisbane are also expecting some rain. Sunshine for Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide and Darwin. Blue skies for Canberra after some early frost. Alice Springs can also look forward to a fine day. And finally tonight, mum's the word with another whale on the way in Sydney Harbour. The southern right whale has been frolicking in the harbour for the past 5 days. Experts believe she's looking for calm waters in which to give birth. Thousands of whale watchers gathered on boats in the shoreline to catch a glimpse of the harbour's latest resident, hoping a new addition isn't too far off. And that's all from the 10 Late News team for this Sunday, the 22nd of August. Matthew White is next with Sports Tonight, live from the Winter Extreme Games at Perisher Blue. I'm Jessica Rowe. Good night.